All right, Martin O'Malley, thank you very much for joining us, former governor of Maryland, former commissioner of the SSA. Yeah, you have a lot of unique viewpoints that are valuable to have here today. Yeah. So you served 1 year as the SSA commissioner, and since you've left, quite a few changes coming to this federal agency. You recently said that the cuts being made to the SSA, the announced plans for it, you said that you're going to see the system collapse and an interruption of benefits within the next 30 to 90 days. What's your evidence for that?
Yeah, I truly believe that. I had the honor of leading the men and women at Social Security all last year, and it was a remarkable turnaround year. Consider this, Social Security is serving more people every single day, record high number of beneficiary customers, and they're doing so with a staff that's been reduced by Congress to a 50-year low. So from my knowledge of the agency, from what I learned from those hardworking people, I know that the sort of wrecking ball that's being taken to the agency, the number of firings, paying people to leave, and paying them actually for a whole year to leave today, all of these things are going to reduce their staffing to a level that will lead to cascading numbers of service interruptions, system shutdowns, and ultimately, I do believe, an interruption of benefits. How long that interruption will last is hard to say. When exactly will happen, I don't know. But I do know this. I know that the people that have the highest percentage of retirement eligibility in the office of the CIO are the people that run the benefit information systems. And because of all of those things, I do believe that at the current rate at which they're driving people out of the agency, we're going to see, we already are seeing service timelines skyrocket. But then you're going to see intermittent interruptions of the processing and claim system, ultimately an interruption in benefits. For what duration, I do not know.
So the SSA has never missed a payment before. What are the cascading consequences that happen if they do miss a payment? Yeah,
the agency and the hardworking people up there at Woodlawn pride themselves on the fact that they've never missed a payment in 90 years. In fact, inside the headquarters, they have a little 2-room museum that recounts that 90-year history. Remember during COVID when all of us suddenly had to evacuate, they didn't even miss a payment during COVID. And that's because they, ahead of any other agency, back when they rated themselves the best place to work in the federal government instead of the worst, were leaders in making all of their workloads portable so they could be done from anywhere. But what's the effect of missing the benefits? Half of all seniors who are living alone depend entirely upon that Social Security payment and to keep them out of poverty. So this program is a lifeline to a lot of people throughout our country. There's 1,211 field offices all over America. And so seniors, people with disabilities. Actually, a lot of kids are lifted out of poverty by Social Security. Second only to the child tax credit Social Security lifts more children out of poverty than any other federal program. So people depend on their Social Security checks. And the wrecking ball that's being taken to this agency, already depleted, already serving more customers than ever every day with fewer staff than they've had in 50 years, is a self-inflicted wound. Shouldn't be happening, should never happen, but it's happening right now. And it's happening with a speed, with a callousness, with a cruel-heartedness that the people of that agency and I have never seen before.
Yeah, so you've touched on this, but just to back this up with some numbers. So the acting SSA commissioner has announced plans to slash 7,000 jobs, which would represent 12% of the workforce. And then many senior staff have decided to resign, a loss of decades of expertise.
Right.
What's at risk when you do that?
There's an enormous amount of knowledge and experience that goes into making Social Security run. The amount of data they have, The earnings records, your record, my record, from the very first job we ever had, is in that green screen, very old, somewhat fragile, COBOL system. And so when you reach 62 or 67, which I know will be a long, long time from now, when you reach your retirement age, somebody has to talk with you. Somebody has to key in all of that earnings record and calculate what your payment is. Has to effectuate your claim, if you will. Has to move you from claiming retirement to actually putting you in pay status. Has to make sure that the direct deposit or mailing you a check, that goes to the right place. So these are all the things that go into serving 72 million people every month without fail. And those 72, because of baby boomers of my generation, are swelling their ranks every single day to a new all-time high. And now these cuts of, there's only 7,000 people at Woodlawn, and they want to reduce it by another 7,000. I saw the other day they put the entire campus up for sale. These reckless actions that these unelected people like co-President Musk and the Doge kids are taking up there is just unconscionable when you consider just how many people depend on Social Security. And they work their whole lives, Tolly, for those benefits. And the same dollars that they paid in for the benefits were the dollars that pay for the staffing so people can access the benefits. Social Security is being gutted at a reckless and rapid pace. And they are robbing people of the customer service they've already paid for, and they're putting their benefits at risk with every passing day.
Elon Musk has called SSA the biggest Ponzi scheme of all time. President Trump has said that his administration will not be touching Social Security and that they're only going after fraud in SSA. What's your response to that?
Let's unpack a few of those things. They say they're going after fraud at SSA, but one of their very first actions within 2 days of being in office was to fire the Inspector General, not only of the Social Security Administration, whose job it is to prosecute fraud, but he fired every one of those independent Inspector Generals. I say independent, they're independent of the agency. And he fired every one of them. When they lifted up this mid-level employee who salutes and follows orders and made him probably the worst acting commissioner in Social Security history, his very first week, he did away with a whole division called the Office of Analytics, Review, and Oversight. What was their job? To make sure that there weren't improper payments, that people weren't being allowed to go on a program that shouldn't be allowed to go onto a program. So that was the whole office that's supposed to guard against waste, fraud, and abuse. Then they claimed that they found this amazing zombie apocalypse, all these dead people committing fraud. Elon Musk initially said that his teenagers had told him that there were people 150 years old. Well, that turned out not to be true. But President Trump lies like other people chew gum. And so when he was addressing Congress, not to be outdone by Musk's falsehood that there were 150-year-old people getting checks, he claimed there were people 300 years old, like they came here and established Jamestown. So the biggest fraud that we combated during my turnaround year there at Social Security, where, by the way, we got every timeliness metric moving in a better direction. They're now all tanking. The biggest fraud we saw was people actually trying to hijack beneficiaries' direct deposit accounts. In other words, calling in, pretending to be Mrs. Smith, switching the account, and so that was the biggest fraud that we combated at the time. And that affects a lot of people. You asked a couple other things to that question. Let's talk about the Ponzi scheme one. There's a few lies that people who don't like Social Security have been saying about Social Security since 1934. And one of those is that it's a Ponzi scheme or a pyramid scheme, that it's all going to collapse because it's just, you get people to put in, the only people that make out are at the top, and then it all collapses. Well, let's think about that. If it actually were a Ponzi scheme, it would not have lasted 90 years. Because Ponzi schemes don't last 90 years. This Social Security is a pay-as-you-go program. So last year, for example, we paid out $1.4 trillion in benefits to people who had worked their whole lives to earn those benefits. You and I, active and in the workforce, paid in through our Social Security contributions, 1.3 trillion. So you ask, where does the difference come from? The difference comes from the Social Security Trust Fund surplus that was intentionally built up in order to cover the demographic bulge that was coming from people of my generation, the baby boomer generation. So this notion that somehow it's a pyramid scheme or a Ponzi scheme is disproved first by the fact that it's been going on for 90 years. Second, by the fact that every year they get a clean audit, unlike the Department of Defense, when people come in to internally audit their books. And the trust fund report is filed every year. Social Security, far from being a Ponzi scheme, actually lends money to the federal government. Most people don't know that. But Social Security, because of the dollars that are generated there, actually lends money to the federal government and does it in treasury notes. And I do think that that is very likely what the co-presidents Musk and Trump are going after. I think they see that $2.7 trillion in that trust fund surplus reserve, and I think they want it. And I was in Congress yesterday, and many members of Congress believe they want it in order to finance ongoing tax cuts for the very, very wealthy.
Well, to that point, the Trump administration has made it clear that they want to cut all types of federal spending. Obviously, SSA represents a giant portion of the federal budget. So can the Trump administration make cuts without harming SSA benefits?
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. The Social Security doesn't contribute one dime to the national debt. Social Security is a self-funded program. Social Security pays for benefits every year from what people contribute to Social Security every year, and right now is running a $2.7 trillion surplus reserve to cover the lifetimes of the baby boomers. So this false notion, and this is another thing that people have been saying about Social Security since 1934, this false claim that Social Security is ballooning the deficit is just not true. In what some of people who make that assertion say is, yeah, but if in 2035 it runs out of money and Congress decides to borrow money instead of adjusting the revenues into the program as they have every other time before in the last 90 years, well, then it'll start generating a deficit if Congress decides to borrow the money instead of making the program as self-sufficient as it's been for the last 90 years. With that caveat, Social Security doesn't contribute anything to the national debt. In fact, get this, the overhead for running Social Security, if you look at it as a big insurance company, which it is, disability insurance, old age insurance, survivors insurance, Social Security operates on less than 1% overhead as a percentage of its benefits that it pays out every year. Allstate operates on 19% overhead. Liberty Mutual, 23% overhead. So this is a super efficient program that is being gutted and run into the ground. I do believe they want to break it so that they can loot it. And it's not fair to the hardworking people up there who have given their lives to serving the American public, even through a pandemic where they never missed a payment.
I want to go back to something you touched on earlier, last couple of questions here. So the Trump administration is requiring federal employees to go back and work in person. And yet, we obtained a list posted 2 days ago that showed that of the hundreds of federal properties that they wanted to sell, 83 of them were in Maryland. And of those 83 was the entire campus of SSA headquarters.
It's shameful, including a brand new building. The Altmaier building was just completely gutted and remodeled 2 years ago. But I'm sorry.
No, but I mean, to that point, how do you bring back the entire workforce to in-person while also selling off the buildings?
It's going to be very hard. I don't know what you bring them back to. Do you put up tents in the field across from the headquarters? Social Security has been greatly downsizing its square footage for years.
I mean, so you've been to this campus. You know it probably better than anyone else. That part of what they say on the website is that they're getting rid of buildings that have tons of empty square footage that are costing taxpayers needless money. Is there tons of empty space in the SSA headquarters?
No, there's not tons of empty space. There are buildings that we have sold off. Before my time, there were buildings that they had sold off and that they had consolidated prior to my coming there. And I suppose as the space required by big mainframes and computers that need to be cooled, I suppose there's opportunity for further consolidations of space there. But your broader, and certainly when it comes to the hearing offices, because it's the biggest adjudicatory body in the free world, those hearings are almost all now conducted virtually, on video or by phone. So there's certainly opportunities to consolidate the space that pre-pandemic we needed for in-person hearings. But on that list were also all 9 of the regional headquarters for Social Security, spread out throughout the country. The one for the southern region, the Rocky Mountain region, West Coast. I think what they're trying to do is to decapitate the agency by eliminating all of its headquarters components. And then when they can break it, they can say, aha, see, we told you this program never worked and we were just ripping the Band-Aid off, so we have to privatize it.
Last question here. What was lost when the Civil Rights Division of SSA was shut down?
There were about 160 people that were told that day, including their leader, who is Claudia Postel, one of the most capable people I've ever worked with in any tour of duty. And all of the hardworking people in that Office of Civil Rights and Equal Opportunity were told that they were being fired for cause and needed to get out of the building today. There were so many, from the stories I've heard, I was not there, but the parking lot was filled with employees with their few belongings from their desk in cardboard boxes and crying on the shoulders of their colleagues they were saying goodbye to after serving for years at Social Security. Some of them just a couple of years short of retirement. So what was lost? Those 160 really committed and dedicated people. What was lost? The ability to respond promptly to complaints, or to be able to examine where we can do better as an agency. There have been I think there have been 4 class actions certified against the agency over the course of the last 20 years. So what they essentially did was to do away with an entire division of really experienced people who played a vital and important role in maintaining a healthy work environment. And I think they wanted to get rid of them because they are hell-bent on creating a toxic work environment where everyone is in fear. Because that day, they did not only eliminate that A-plus player and her whole Office of Civil Rights, they also eliminated another A-plus player and his whole Office of Transformation, Office of Customer Service Transformation. Told both of them, you're being fired for cause, and all of your people are also being fired for cause. No incentive to leave, no opportunity to go to another job, get out now. It was intended to send a chilling message and to let everybody else know when the next day they announced the cash incentives to leave now, that you better take the cash incentive or you're going to face the same fate. That's the toxic work environment they've created, and the same way they got rid of the anti-fraud and anti-waste divisions there, they got rid of the division of civil rights and equal opportunity in order to eliminate the office where people would go to complain about a toxic work environment or bosses that bully or threaten.
All right, I'll make this a quick final question. So you led these people as recently as December.
Yes.
What
I led
are
them.
what are you hearing from these employees?
There's a lot of anger, there's a lot of shock, there's a lot of sadness, there's a lot of grief. People who have worked their whole lives at that agency, some of them being fired just on the verge of having earned their retirement, feel like they gave their best to their country and they did it for all the right reasons. And now they've been betrayed by the agency that they loved and that they committed their life to. It's not right. It's not fair. And my heart goes out to them. And I do believe we will overcome this. But these are really tough times for people that gave their whole lives to serving their fellow Americans. I feel very, very badly for them.